Welcome to Pitch It To Me podcast, a show about the subjective past, present, and potential future of flesh and blood design. In today's episode, we'll give our first impressions for the upcoming set, Super Slam. You can find us across all socials such as Bluesky and Instagram at Pitch It To Me podcast.
I'm Joel.
I'm Clark.
And I'm Fuzzy.
Tuesday. Pitch It To Me podcast presents Super Slam.
Super Slam.
The new Flesh and Blood set, rocking the nation. Be there or be square. I think I actually kind of rocked that announcer voice. Goddamn! All right, so we're no longer in suspense anymore. We know what happened on July 1st. We are recording this here July 2nd, the day after. We got our new set announcement.
And it's looking pretty hype. We're going back to the Deathmatch Arena, getting 2 new Brutes, 2 new Guardians.
Yeah, did not see that coming.
And we also got Light and Shadow. Revered and Reviled.
Call to action for our audience. We are excited to hear. What are you most excited about seeing?
Yeah, let us know in the comments. Let us know in our Discord. What are you excited to see in this new set? There's a lot of missing pieces. We only know a little bit so far, which means you can say whatever you want. That's the way it works.
Yeah, until this weekend, LSS is like, so we know we just did the set announcement, but also here's a whole other batch of spoilers.
Yep.
They've done it to us before, and they'll do it to us again.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty sure they time their set announcements based on what we are talking about on any given episode.
We're getting
They're
dynamite
like, what
as
the
we
fuck
speak.
is going on in Pitch It To Me podcast? Did we accidentally invite them to our, note stock?
Could I talk a little bit about Crucible, you guys?
Of course.
What's Crucible again?
So Crucible is our rotating monthly custom format league where we play a new format every month.
Oh, yeah.
This month, for July, we're playing Home Turf Constructed, where you have to build your deck entirely of cards made from printed in the same set.
Yeah, so it's like set constructed, but rather than every single deck being restricted to the exact same set, you can pick any hero from any set, but it's like you're playing set constructed for that hero.
Yeah, like you can be like, I'm just going to play cards from Welcome to Wraith because Reinhardt peaked in Welcome to Wraith.
He did.
And there's some extra rules, like you can play with the Armory decks if you want. And the supplemental sets have their own special rule where you can use Everfest, Crucible of War, and Dynasty together if you want. I have all of the rules posted on our Bluesky, on our Patreon, and in our Discord. So if you want to get in on this format, you can come join our Discord and there are people there that can play. Or you can join our Patreon and get paired into our league.
And spoiler alert, it's a lot of fun. Oops.
Yeah.
Catch it in the bag.
We also wanted to let you all know that today is July 2nd, which is 2 days before the 4th of July. And Americans, when it comes to our Independence Day, we just can't keep it in our pants. And we have to express that through exploding the sky. Mm-hmm. So right now, a bunch of fireworks are going off in Fuzzy's neighborhood. And there's not really anything we can do about that.
Mm-hmm. So you might get to enjoy these fireworks with us.
Think of it as really aggressive ASMR.
Yeah. We'll try to cut around it as much we can, but some things we just won't be able to.
Yeah.
Let's just go ahead and jump into the episode from there then. So LSS spoiled the next set of Super Slam. So today we're going to be going over what was in that announcement, some of our outstanding questions, and some insights that we've taken, sort of ways of looking at what's coming through the design lens that we've been using for the past 2 years. Oh, yeah. Also, it's technically our 2-year anniversary this episode.
Yeah. We've been doing Pitch It To Me podcast for 2 years. How does that make you feel, Joel, specifically?
God, 2 years goes by really quickly.
Yeah.
But I think this is by far the longest creative project I've ever had. So that's really cool. And I've really been enjoying it.
Yeah. We have some fun things coming down the line. Right now, we have a poll on our Discord. They'll probably be closed by the time this episode comes out. But right now, it's a dead heat between whether we'll do a Hot Ones episode.
Like the spicy wings.
Yeah.
Or we make a cube.
Well, reveal the cube that we have been making.
Yes. We've definitely have a cube.
And since those two options are like neck and neck, maybe we'll do both. Maybe.
Yeah, we're people pleasers, so we'll
Yeah.
end up probably doing all of them just because we like you guys so much.
Yeah. Fuzzy was like, please don't make me eat spicy.
And I stand by that statement. I really do not want to eat spicy wings for internet clicks, but I think I'm going to have to because I have that much respect for Clark and Joel, who have that much lack of respect for me, you know?
I'm going to be suffering there right alongside you.
So yeah, let's get into the episode.
Yeah.
For Red Pitch, we're going to be talking about the different classes and heroes in the set, Guardian and Brute. In Yellow Pitch, we're going to be talking about the two talents, Reviled and Revered. And then in Blue Pitch, we're going to talk about the changes to expansion slots and the fact that there's no weapons in this set, ? Exclamation point. So Joel, why don't you take it away with Red Pitch?
You know, you can add those
No.
verbally, Fuzzy.
You did exactly what I wanted out of that, Fuzzy. Thank you. Yeah, for a Red Pitch, I'm going to talk about Guardian and Brute and why they're looking so unique and different in Super Slam. And I'll start off with Guardian because even though we have seen literally 0 Guardian cards, we know a lot just based off of their hero power and what each of the talents have attached to Guardian in this way. The first thing is there's like a more aura focus this set, and it seems like specifically there's tokens and like a duration manipulation thing going on.
Yeah, so the main mechanic seems to be suspense, but they have left us in suspense about what suspense is.
It's very suspenseful.
It's annoyingly suspenseful. They're like, suspense coming July 1st. And then July 1st comes in. It's like, yeah, we're not going to fucking tell you about that.
It's more suspense.
The assumption would definitely be like, these auras are going to stay on the field for as long as they have suspense counters, and then they'd probably leave and do something when they leave or something, but we don't really know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're going to see in all 4 heroes, they each have a token that they care about. The other thing that I noticed is that there's no evasion or offensive value with these new hero abilities. And I'll briefly go over the heroes now. There's Lyeth, which I assume is like a spoof off of Goliath.
I didn't even think about that. That's really
okay.
cool. I was like Lyeth, like liar, you know?
That makes sense too.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, when they work in 2 or more references into the names, it's a little bit stronger. They're not just like, I like katsu sandwiches. Let's call this ninja katsu.
So, Live Goldmane, Vile Savant, is a 5 intellect guardian hero. The very first
5 intellect?
5 intellect with 40 health, and he says the base power and defense of cards you control are halved, rounded up. And as an instance, you may pay 2 resources and tap your hero. Woohoo, more tapping. The crowd boos you in bold. And defending action cards you control get +1 defense this turn. And whenever the crowd boos you, create a might token.
Yeah. So it seems like each hero, a lot of heroes follow the same general pattern, right? Of having an activated ability that results in a cheer or boo. And then whenever you get cheered or booed, you make a token.
However, Pleiades, Superstar, which is the other Guardian hero, is a revered Guardian hero with 4 intellect and 40 health, and her ability is, as an instant, you may tap your hero and remove a suspense counter from an aura you control. And then you may put a suspense counter on an aura of suspense you control. And then whenever the crowd cheers you, create a confidence token.
We don't know what confidence token does yet.
Nope, don't
And
ask us.
she can't cheer herself.
Yep. I just thought it was interesting that the Guardian heroes don't have any evasion, which would be like overpower or dominate to land your on hits effectively, or anything that gives like buffs to your attacks in any way. Other than like Lyeth, he gives might tokens, which on your following turn at the start of it, each might token will destroy itself and give you 1 power. But other than that, no offensiveness going on. So I'm assuming it's going to be more defense oriented.
Ooh, what if the
Yeah.
confidence token gave something overpower, like gave your first attack on your next turn overpower?
I mean,
It certainly could. We don't know what confidence does yet.
That would be a lot of overpower, though.
yeah.
You know, like if
LSS fucking loves it, though.
yeah, but if you get a cheer like every turn, that could mean that like all of your attacks have overpower.
I
if
mean,
you're
it's
swinging one
not
per
on a
turn.
hero ability, so it could be hard to get.
That's true.
Yeah. All depends on how easy it is to get yourself cheered up.
Yep. So now let's go over the individual heroes a little bit closer. I'm going to start off with Lyeth here. Something that I don't think was expressly written on the card, but rather mentioned in the trailer video, is that Lyeth is actually the first mechanical dwarf in the set. And what I mean by
you mean
He's a cyborg.
let me finish.
Yeah.
And what I mean by mechanical is there have been other dwarves depicted in Flesh and Blood via Nimby or Belittle or Minowism, but there's never been a hero that is a dwarf that you can play. And so now we get information about how different races will be played in Flesh and Blood. And notably, it's not an augment. It's not like on your hero card at all. It doesn't say dwarf anywhere. Rather, I think they're denoting it with his text saying that all of your cards are halved in power and defense.
Mm-hmm.
So this probably means that if we see other dwarves in the future, they might have either this same text or some other text that alters the way that you defend or attack in the game.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cute because a lot of the ways that we've seen dwarves are cards that care about having smaller power levels, you know? Nimby, Belittle. So it kind of makes sense that like when they print dwarf heroes that they are going to have smaller power levels or care about them in some way.
Now, the other art we've seen dwarves on was a special alt art for Unmovable.
Yes, that's true.
That's a tall defense.
Yeah.
But I think that was added later on, so that doesn't quite count in my book.
It's alt art. It's alt art. Yeah.
Another reason why I think that's interesting is because I think it's not only a good flavor choice to introduce a new playable dwarf in the game, but also to sort of circumvent the added benefit of playing Lyeth, which is the 5th intellect point, the very first hero that has 5 intellect in the game.
This is such a bold design, and I kind of like am really here for it when LSS is like, okay, time to break some rules because it's been like 5 years and we've never had a 5 intellect hero before.
Yeah.
And it's a conversation you'll see like a lot happen at armories, like, what do you think it would take for a hero to have 5 intellect? How would you balance that? And LSSs have all their shit.
Yeah.
You get one extra card, all of your cards are half cards.
And I love that they added Vile Savant to his name because it's really giving like Tyrion Lannister from Game of Thrones, like very smart, but obviously a little bit weaker on the physical side. And the next hero I want to talk about is Pleiades, the other Guardian. She has a lot of heavy aura gameplay involved, mostly because of her hero power references the auras of suspense, which is like some sort of new token that she creates. And also her super rare card, the Guardian Instance.
Oh, man.
Returns an aura that you control to your hand. So I think we're also going to see a different kind of aura that maybe nets benefits from leaving the field as compared to destroying at the start of turn and getting a better benefit effect that way.
Kind of like all those sigils that we saw.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, duh, those exist already.
Yeah.
Those are all really cheap to have a really small benefit, but the trick is that like when you bounce them to your hand, you get extra value, right? I could totally see them returning to that design space with some auras that cost resources and like you have a lot more control over when they leave the battlefield. There's a lot of design space there they could really easily tap into.
On our Discord, I've definitely seen 2 different philosophies. The most common one is that all of these suspense auras are going to give value continuously and last as long as you have suspense counters on them. I'm not sure how much I like that because her hero ability must remove a suspense counter. So that's its initial purpose. Then you may put a suspense counter on something else. But the intention, the main goal, the thing that is not optional is that removal of a suspense counter.
Yep.
So I think it is going to be when this leaves the field. So maybe that's going to let them push the numbers on these auras a little bit more. Or maybe it could be like a reverse sort of crank where an aura enters with a suspense counter that you can then... Or you can add a suspense counter to give your aura go again.
Ooh, that's really interesting.
And then you can remove it with her hero ability so that it does pop at a normal time. Or you can leave it on there so that you can line it up with maybe some other aura you have sitting in the field.
I think it's really interesting that you phrase it that way because it says the removal is part of the cost of the ability. And typically if like LSS is going to put a benefit on something, they're pretty good about putting it in the resolution of the ability, not the cost.
Good point.
So I imagine auras want suspense counters, maybe, So being able to put a suspense counter on is the benefit, you know?
Yeah.
And putting the May there is like funny. Like if the suspense counters are good, why would I remove one and not put one on? But
Exactly.
and this is all speculation because we don't even know. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's so cool that you had that completely alternate take on suspense counters. So I'm really excited to see how it ended up shaking out, you know?
God, I fucking love spoiler season. The other part of my notes is that I have armory deck and also profit question mark. Because like we don't know too much about how Pleiades is going to work with any of these cards that have been revealed so far.
No, but sexy pop star rock woman.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's got to be good, right?
Yeah. Take my money, please.
Yeah.
I saw that they were doing the armory deck for Pleiades. So I was like, okay, of course LSS would think that we all want to play this hero.
I mean, we all want to play Aurora.
Yeah, I feel like this is one of those really unique card pools that she just needs an armory deck to function, similar to how they decided to add a Gravy Bones armory deck because there's such a small card pool with so many new cards being introduced.
Or maybe that there were designs for this hero that specifically only worked in an armory deck rather than in the limited environment.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So not going to gush too much more about her. I'm going to move straight to the Brutes, which is like, I think a sanctioned Brute podcast, you know, we should have a lot to say about this.
Fuzzy's been playing a lot of Rhinar recently.
Rhinar is so fun.
Bro, we're the fucking Brute podcast.
Yes, sir. So I'll start with Tough Nut because he's cool. Tough Nut Bumbling Hulkster is a 3 intellect.
Whoa. 3?
1, 2, 3. 2 plus 1.
God damn,
Funky
dude.
numbers.
Yep. He is a 40 health revered brute hero with an instant ability that says you can tap him. Woohoo. And you pitch the top card of your deck. Period. If it has 6 or more power, the crowd cheers you. They love that. And then whenever the crowd cheers you, you create a toughness token, which is another new token we know nothing about. The other brute, KO, who we've seen before, but in this set, he is KO Underhanded Cheat. He is a 4 intellect, 40 health, reviled brute hero. And his text is, you start the game with 1 weapon zone, because he's got 1 arm, and as an instant, and paying 4 resources and tapping him, target attack action card you control has base 6 power. And whenever the crowd boos you, create a Vigor token.
So KO is really relying on the blues plus the Vigor token to get to those 4 resources and attack with cards that are specifically not 6 power. Whereas Tough Nut has 3 intellect. You can't be drawing and discarding random cards with only 3 intellect.
Yeah.
You got to be.
He doesn't know how.
You got to be so careful about it. So I totally see why traditional brute build paths do not work for either of these heroes, because brutes always require lots of cards in hand to have the best chance of getting that random discard that you want and tailoring your hand to be what you need it to be. And KO wants to play things that aren't 6s, and that makes it really fucking like the previous KO build was literally oops, all 6s.
And
Like Wild Ride and Pulping always hit.
And now this one's like no 6s.
Yeah, like you don't want to run any of these.
Don't put them in.
It's like, oh my god.
I think I said it like 2 weeks ago where like when the next time we see Brute, LSS can do whatever the fuck they want, and it might have nothing to do with what we've seen Brutes do in the past.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we're seeing here.
Also, can I just shout out one thing about KO?
I suppose.
He is the reviled KO. The
Oh, yeah.
RKO.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I will now be referring to him as RKO from here on out.
You know what? That's kind of cool.
It's fine. This is not a Clark original. I stole it off of someone on Blue Sky.
Oh, never mind. I thought my podcaster was cool. Anyways, so one other thing I want to note about Brute before we get into each individual design is that there's an interesting focus of defense, and I'm going to move over to Tough Nut to talk more about that. His hero power, in conjunction with having 3 intellect, basically means that 4th card, that 4th virtual card you have access to with your hero power is always going to be pitched. And one thing that our fans have been going crazy over, you the fans, have been going crazy over is Rock. And let me read Rock to you before we move any closer.
What the hell is Rock? I have not seen a single deck ever play Rock.
So Rock is a 2-handed brute weapon, Rock. It swings for 7, and as a once per turn action, you may pay 3 resources to attack.
3 for 7 on a weapon?
That's
why are people running this thing?
I'll tell you why. Because you can only activate rock if you have no cards in hand. And that means the blue you'd want to pitch to activate rock is still a card in your hand. So you literally cannot have any cards in your hand, but you got to scrounge up 3 resources. And before Tough Nut came along, the best way to do it was to wait for Tunic to get to 3 and use an energy pot you played on a subsequent turn.
Yeah.
Or like have 2 floating from something else. Like Beat Chest, that Beat Chest card from Heavy Hitters is like pretty decent at making it happen. And then
Finedalls.
And then you Tunic. Yeah. It's tricky though, because when you're playing a potion, just to be able to swing this 3 for 7 later, it's no longer like a 1-card 7, you know?
Yeah.
It's like really go back to being like a 2-card 7 and meh.
Yeah. But with Tough Nut, bro, just block 9, flip the blue off the top, 3 for 7.
Yeah, how about 16 points of value every single turn?
On a 3 intellect hero?
Do we like that?
We take those.
Yeah. Now, the only other 3 intellect hero is Data Doll, and that's...
Oh, I thought you were going to say Bolton.
You know, I wasn't because I'm growing, so I'm glad you said it. Because it just gets boring when the Bolton player complains about Bolton, you know what I mean? And one thing that I haven't really seen talked about with Tough Nut specifically, because rock is life, rock is love, is the sort of like push and pull of the added defense. I'm assuming toughness adds a point of block or a point of defense to your action cards. Like maybe it functions similarly to a fealty token where you destroy it as an instant and give your next card like +1 defense, or it's like embodiment of earth, whatever. I'm assuming it'll show up the fact that you only have 3 cards to defend with on any given turn. And with this added defense, it's sort of another thing contributing to the fact that you only have 3 intellect to work with. And so that prevents it from being just a run-of-the-mill fatigue deck.
Yeah, it definitely feels like on both of these intellect manipulated heroes, Lyeth is saying, I have 5 intellect, which gives me more flexibility than any other hero in the game, but my numbers are so shit, maybe it doesn't even matter. And at the same time, Tough Nut is saying, I have 3 intellect, which means my flexibility is the worst out of every other hero in the game. But maybe my numbers are so good that it doesn't matter.
So now that we talked about what makes Tough Nut so interesting, let's go on to KO, which I think is more interesting because of his break from design of the original KO in CC. I want to start off with the fact that he makes Vigor tokens. Now, in the first set where they took place in the Deathmatch Arena, they had Brutes and Warriors share Agility and Might tokens, and that's sort of like Brute's shard of the piece because there was Agility, Might, and Vigor tokens that released in that set. But now KO only creates Vigor tokens from his hero ability, so he has access to all 3 now. Which was kind of interesting to me. And I don't know if he'll play with the other 2, Agility and Might tokens, all that much, but it certainly gives him a lot more flexibility in his building.
It really, really does.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. Like, what could you do if you just played a regular Brute, but every time you played one of these Crab Boo cards, you get a Vigor token? Like, we could do a lot with that.
We really, really can. I mean, I consistently have found that one of the things I really want to be doing in some of my Brute builds is running Finedalls, because it opens up a lot more opportunities in the cost curve, especially because so many of our best attacks cost 3. That's what gives us the best 6 density. While also still giving us the best block values.
Yeah, so I think that plus how KO augments different cards to be 6 power or 6 base power, he has probably as much flexibility as Lyeth does in terms of deck construction, because you can transform any threat into 6 power, and you can also shore up, like you said, the resource curve of Brutes that they've been struggling with for a long time.
And I feel like it's not the same type of evasion. Like when we think of evasion in Flesh and Blood, it's like dominate and overpower. But this ability to suddenly make your attacks have more power, I think, is another type of evasion, like the kind that assassins and warriors play with all the time, where it's unclear how much damage I'm presenting. So you have to be prepared for it to be more than I might actually have. And so, like, the threat of maybe being able to give +5 like is kind of a form of evasion in and of itself. I think he's going to be that hero that's able to, at least in limited, he's going to be the one where you can't go down to 5 against KO, because he can bring 5 damage out of nowhere, and you don't want to get slammed with that,
Yeah, it's a little face up, but it also isn't face up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the modality that they're playing with, like making everything below 6 get that much power up to 6. I don't know. It's just really interesting to me because this is not a class that you typically see with the combat tricks, so to speak.
When I think about KO's hero ability, I always try to think about where it gives me the value that is worth my resources. And so I sort of look at Harpoon Cannon as my reference point, which in high seas let you spend 4 resources to give your next arrow +4. If it had Harpoon, overpower, but +4. I mean, that was a general math. 4 resources for +4 power tracks to me. And honestly, I think that is really strong on a hero ability, but it means that you don't really want to use it on anything with 3 or higher power, which is every single brute card. So it's really, really weird. What is the use case of it? It's not like you can use it while you're discarding something to make it turn on your 6-powered stuff, or the things that care about you discarding 6-powered things. So that doesn't quite line up. And like, you're even losing a card to do it. So why would you even do that in the first place?
It's because he's disconnected from his people. He's forgotten where he's come from.
Wow, it'd be cool if that was actually the case.
He has to run generics.
Yeah. But, I just think that it's, I think he's going to have to rely a lot on beat chest. So I'm hoping we see more beat chest in the set itself. As the brute design, because his hero ability doesn't want him to run 6s. His hero ability wants him to turn things into 6-power cards.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me, Clark. If he has fewer of lower frequency of 6s, he wants more control over his discards because he still wants to have them floating around. Probably, it might not even
He's
be
brute. Doesn't he have to?
If he wants to run the classic brute cards, he kind of does. Yeah, there are a lot of cards you can get away with that like simply don't care about it. Like Swing Big is a good brute card that doesn't require you run other 6s, and you have to do something when you don't have your.
You're right. I can attack with Swing Big for 8, and then pitch a whole other blue with the one floating from it to make it 6 power. Thank you, Fuzzy.
I also think it makes sense that they would return to beat chest because the design from heavy hitters seems a little half-baked. We've talked about it on our show before where like it's literally like 4 beat chest cards. One of them seems really playable. One of them is strictly worse than Pack Hunt. So what are we doing?
Yeah. Definitely.
We're going to find out about all that and more as LSS spoils some more stuff for us. But that's all we have for Red Pitch. And I'm going to pass it off to Clark for the Reviled and Revered review.
Yeah, so in Yellow Pitch, we're going to talk a little bit more about the talents, which we've seen more of. We used Red Pitch to talk about the heroes, primarily because we have not been given any base class cards. We haven't seen what Guardian or Brute cards are going to look like in the new set.
Yep.
What they have shown us are these 2 new talents, Reviled and Revered. Reviled is the cool one. Reviled's all dark blues and deep reds. They're the heels, the badasses fucking up the arena. They are defined by low power attacks that get buffs, and they typically care about being higher in life total, which leads to an inherent snowball effect.
Spicy head jobs.
Do we think that this is a healthy place to design an entire talent like this? We've seen cards that care about being lower in life, Life for a Life, Find All, Fighting Spirit, Wounded Bull, typically used to great effect by warriors. But what do we think about this being higher in life and giving you more benefits for being better, in a better position than the opponent?
I think comeback mechanics are always cool. We've loved Scar
But this
for a
is
Scar.
not a comeback mechanic.
Yes, I'm aware. Kind of going somewhere with it. I've loved those mechanics in the past. It makes sense that they're bringing it back for these revered heroes. They're also kind of easy to activate because all you have to do is take damage, Like, if it's an even game, I will probably have less life than my opponent most turns. We probably both will have less life at the start of our turns for most turns of the game if we're having this back and forth. But to have more life than my opponent actually means that, like, I have to be, like, up in tempo and keep cards in my hand. Like, that's actually maybe even a harder thing to ask than to have less life. And if you're playing a really defensive hero, like you're literally like trying to fatigue someone, maybe it's a little bit easier to have more life. But I think it's actually an interesting challenge to put for the player to have more life, because once you start getting behind, it's really hard to come back,
Yeah.
you know? Like, how are you going to like make that happen other than just like pushing more damage, you know? And then playing defensively to keep it, you know? And it might be a little bit unhealthy to have a win more card, like be a fundamental mechanic of your hero.
And a lose more card, right?
Yeah.
Like I love that you mentioned that the moment that the reviled hero goes below in life, a lot of those effects are not going to be turned on. And all of a sudden they're going to be stuck in a situation where it's just going to get worse for them because they're not you have to attack, which means you have to keep cards, which means you have to take damage. Like as a reviled hero, I do not want to be playing into aggro matchups because they're going to keep one little combo turn. They're going to put me to 15 and then like all of my value is going to disappear.
And I'm sensing a gap in the sort of contrarian point of view, so I'm going to step in here for a second. Mind you, the only card that we've seen with this effect that says if I have more life than you, I get XYZ effect is a rare card, and it basically equates to a 0 for 5 with no go again. So if
Plus whatever token you get for being booed.
That's correct. So if you're KO, you would get 1 Vigor, and if you're Lyeth, you get 1 Might token, and those don't equate to anything except for a token for the following turn, which is relevant, but this could be an interesting mechanic that's in limited only, because, like, you know, if I'm blocking 9 and throwing 5, like, I'm getting a benefit out of this, like, quote-unquote win more card, but that's all it is a 0 for 5. And
yeah, I mean, the low costs of these attacks, I think, do lend themselves towards it because you can protect your life total a little bit better by devoting more of your cards to defense. Also, notably, we have our 5 intellect hero in the Reviled, not our 3 intellect hero, meaning that he should feel comfortable devoting more of his cards to defense, so that he can keep his 1 card to get the extra benefit. And so I do enjoy that element of it, right? And then on the inverse, let's talk about Revered, the basic bitch one, the baby faces, who stand for goodness and justice in the arena.
Yeah.
They have high power attacks. They create toughness and confidence tokens, the 2 tokens we do not know. Which also might be a little bit more complicated or have more interesting effects. They also have higher costs, and they care about being lower in life. Fuzzy kind of jumped the gun on that one a little bit, but...
Okay, sorry.
But they have the natural, much more comfortable comeback effect. One thing that I do like about this is that they typically need to pitch for their attack. Because they need to pitch for their attack, then they are going to be wanting to block with less cards so that they take more damage so that they are lower in life total.
Hey, it's crazy how that works.
Yeah, so I do enjoy that natural push and pull and how I think that's going to play out in Limited. To talk about the 2 cards that I'm sort of focusing on here when we are discussing this, there is Mocking Blow, which Joel just referenced. Mocking Blow is a great card. It shows a clown bitch slapping a random arena gladiatorial combat fighter.
as they do.
Fuck that clown. Boo.
Yeah. And it says if you have more life than the opponent, the crowd boos you. And when you are booed, 1, your hero ability activates, so you get to make a token of your choice. And if you have been booed, it gains +4 power. It also has base 1 attack. That means at red, yellow, and blue, it has base 1 attack, and the number changes based on the color. Whether it gets +4, 3, or 2. This is the first time we've ever seen something like that on an attack action card.
Is that confirmed?
The Mocking Blow?
Yeah.
Or that's the first time we've seen this effect?
I kind of just assumed it was color locked.
No, yeah, we've seen all 3 colors.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we have seen something scale like that before. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head what it is. Fiddler's Green kind of scales like that. I know that
Fiddler's Green does scale like that, where the block value is 1, but the life gained is 3, 2, 1 based on color. I think this is a really cool design because for both heroes, they want low base power, both for KO's hero ability to give the maximum amount of value. If the base power is 1 and it gains +4, you can still make the base power 6 and it still gets the +4, pushing it to 10. And similarly with Lyeth, You want to know what's half of 1 rounded up? Still 1.
Holy.
Crazy.
How back
So it still attacks for 5.
Hold on, I'm getting my calculator.
Yeah, so it's like you didn't even have the negative on his hero ability.
My calculator says we're so back.
All caps.
Yeah.
Yeah, what are the numbers for that?
WERE.
On the Revered side, what is the Revered card that we're looking at? This one is called Comeback Kid. A 3-cost attack that comes in for 7, 6, or 5. If you have less life than the opponent, the crowd cheers you. If the crowd has cheered you this turn, it gains +1 power. It also blocks for 3. So
That's
this
so
could
gas.
be, it could be a 3 power, 8 attack, 3 block. Crazy good. And it gives you that token, that confidence or that toughness token. So this could be a single card 9-point value. Really, really powerful, especially with the flexibility of it being a 3 block. Right now, I don't quite see how it works with Pleiades, but I do see how it works with Tough Nut. Because Tough Nut, it's the 1 card you keep in your hand, you activate him, you flip a blue 6 like Wrecker Romp, the crowd cheers you, you get 3 resources, you come in for 8. And you make that toughness. Maybe you make another toughness if you are still below in life when you make this play.
Which card? Comeback Kid?
Yeah, Comeback Kid cheers if you have less life, and Tough Nut also cheers when you flip a 6. So you can get cheered twice. That doesn't give +2 power, mind you.
Yeah.
I want to make it clear, these effects only trigger once, regardless of how many times you are booed or cheered, but your hero ability is each time. So if you get cheered or booed multiple times in the turn, you can make multiple tokens.
And that's specifically if you flip the Wrecker Romp. Because are we getting another blue 6?
God, I fucking hope so. Give me a majestic blue 6 LSS. I swear to fucking God, I'll fly to New Zealand.
I don't know if we're getting another blue 6.
Sorry,
that we are either.
The fact that
It's
you can
so good in Tough Nut.
the fact that you can double trigger Tough Nut's ability with Comeback Kid is fucking sick.
Yeah, it's super, super cool. So I think so much of these heroes and their play is going to orient around the boos and the cheers, because in the 4 hero designs for the Revered heroes, one can cheer themselves, the other one can't. They can be their own engine for cheers. And similarly in Reviled, one of them can be their own engine for boos. But the other hero is going to have to work a little bit harder for those effects. Now, does that say something about the importance of vigor tokens and confidence tokens, of the fact that maybe they're a little bit more powerful, they do a little bit more for the hero in their design? Maybe. I'm not necessarily sure, right? But I really do like how, when I look at RKO or when I look at Pleiades, I'm thinking, how can I get cheered? How can I get booed? And what cards are going to let me do that? And it makes me push that towards that. While for Tough Nut and Lyeth, I'm thinking, how can I activate my ability as much as possible and make it as consistent as possible? So like Tough Nut, we're talking about how great it is to flip a blue and then just throw a rock. And like we can block with the rest of our hand, like, But we only have Wrecker Romp as a blue 6 as available for Tough Nut at the moment.
That's true.
And so that means that you're not really getting cheered when you do that. That means you want to be flipping yellows and reds. But yellows and reds don't give you resources to do shit.
I think there's a lot of room for creativity in Tough Nut. Even at the base, like, let's just adapt the all blues idea. Let's run 10 yellows. So it's mostly blues, and run Tunic. So whenever I flip a 6 yellow, I have Tunic there. And hopefully I won't do it like twice in the same 3-turn cycle, you know?
Yes, Fuzzy. Yeah. That's the shit I want to hear.
Of course, it's still very easy to do. Like 10 yellows might be too much. Maybe something more like 8 yellows, you know? Like it's going to happen, and I'll be able to have Tunic available for when it does happen, you know?
I think Pack Call gets really good here.
Pack Call gets so good here. Being able to know what's on top of your deck for the hero ability. Yeah. I also love that it's an instant, so that you can also generate resources for like Arcane Barrier and shit.
Yeah.
Really, really great stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I do also want to take a moment here to talk about the 2 majestic designs that we've seen in these talents. Let's start with the Reviled, because it is cooler, in my opinion. This is Bully Tactics. It's a red 0 cost 3 attack 3 block reviled action. When this attacks a hero, you may pay up to 3 resources, intimidate them that many times.
Jesus Christ.
So this could be a 3 cost 3 power triple intimidate. Or it could be a 1 cost 3 power single intimidate. Or a 2 cost 3 power double intimidate card. It is all based on where your cost curve is landing. Now, obviously, I think we want to be throwing a whole blue into this card, but I love this scaling resource dump mechanic. It is something that we see in Reviled and Revered, though the Revered Majestic, it does not use this mechanic, but they do have a card called Dillon, which is a 3 cost. At red, it comes in for 7, so yellow is 6 and blue is 5. 3 block that says when this defends, you may pay up to 3 resources, create that many toughness tokens. Again, this could be a 3 block that you then put a blue into to create 3 toughness tokens.
Oh, so fucking cool.
Yeah, this mana sink design is sick. Like, I love the idea of using a Find Alls to just like get that one little activation in. Or like, hey, I'm playing against a Viserai. One rune chant comes in. Well, I don't want to pitch my blue. Well, that's fine because I'm going to block with Dillon and then make 2 toughness tokens. Like, that is really, really sick.
Oh, when it defends.
Yeah, when it defends.
Oh.
We love 3 blocks with Jazz.
Yeah. So this mana sink, also super, super sick. I think it is great design, great flexibility. I think it encourages people to think about their deck building in interesting ways. Now on to the Revered Majestic that we've seen. It's called The Crowd Goes Wild. It is a yellow 3 cost, 6 power, 3 block. God, a lot of 3 blocks in this set. You love to see it. This one says, if you've been cheered this turn, this costs 3 less to play. So if you can get cheered, 0 cost, 6 power attack. Shaheesh. For me, this is what makes Tough Nut flipping a red or a yellow off the top so much better.
Absolutely.
Because it's like you still flipped a blue, but you get the toughness token still.
Oh, and if you flip like a yellow 6 for toughness ability, you play this for free and you play Pummel with the 2 floating.
Oh my god,
Yes.
Cracked it.
Yeah.
Pummel and Tough Nut sounds so hard. It's so hard casting Pummel
It's
just
hard.
on like a
Yeah.
regular 4 intellect hero, but you know what? Like,
It's
he
a
has the
3
extra
card
resources.
play for
Yeah.
like every single Guardian.
With like resources, right?
Yeah, with Find Alls, yeah.
Or a Seismic Surge or something.
Mm-hmm. It ain't easy.
If Tough Nut's already running Tunic, it does get a lot easier.
It does. And I think it gives a lot of flexibility for flipping stuff off the top. But it is odd because you do have those floating resources. And if you don't have a Pummel or something to cast on top of it, I think it could get pretty difficult.
Yeah, that
to
is kind
make
of
everything
funny.
work.
Like, now that you just gave yourself resources, here's a 0 cost card. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Also, very notably, so far, all 3 of the Revered attacks, Crowd Goes Wild, Comeback Kid, and Dig In, all cost 3. Again, encouraging what Joel was saying in that red pitch of really wanting blues so that you can flip that blue off the top, play your attack. But you're only getting cheered if you flip something with 6 or more power, and all these blues attack for 5. So there is... I don't think they can let any brew have a deck design just work. I think all of them have to be fucking weird in some way. When they were like, hey, you get all the 6s that you want, they were still like, but only 1 claw. And it's like, oh my God, okay, fine.
No, I feel it in my bones. It's going to happen.
It's good that we have deck building tension. I think it makes for interesting builds. Just sometimes we're so focused on having to deal with that we end up losing sight of just like winning the game.
Yeah.
I think that covers most of the things about the talents that I want to discuss. The last thing I want to say is that we are getting this set of charm cards. These charm cards are really, really cool super moves. There's Cheater's Charm, Liar's Charm, Numbskull Charm, Thespian Charm, and all 4 of them are these yellow instants. But I think the most interesting about them is not that they are the talent class combo, but the fact that they are super rares Fuzzy, why don't you take over in Blue Pitch and tell us a little bit about the return of super rares?
Yeah, in Blue Pitch today, I'm going to be going over some of the nitty-gritty details, the fine print, so to speak, where I want to talk numbers, statistics about the set, like what is LSS doing with the release of this set that's just a little bit different than the other sets? How are they changing it up a little bit? And I would love to talk about the super rares first. Thank you for passing that off to me, Clark. In their article with the release of the trailer, they said, coming out of retirement for one night only, super rares.
Holy fucking shit. Ropes, it's a super rare.
Someone on our Discord was like, hey, I feel like I'm missing something. Why are people so excited about super rares? And it's just nostalgia for sets that we weren't even around for. Like,
No, I came up with other reasons.
what was the reasons? Oh, okay. We here at PITM Podcast are nerds for rarity, and the idea of there being a design space in between rare and majestic seems very apparent to us, you know?
Yeah, they put
As fake designers.
they put a lot of powerful and interesting cards that I think would have been majestics in other sets. Previously were in the super rare slot.
Yeah.
And
Or cards
Majestics-
that really feel like they could have been super rares if they were still doing those.
Mutated Mass.
Yeah, Mutated Mass is a great example of one. I would also say Barbed Barrage.
Yeah.
Because Endless Arrow is a super rare.
Yeah.
But that shit's like majestic power level.
Moray LaFay,
Yeah.
kind of a
Yes.
super rare ally.
Any
Yes.
of these color locked rares actually
Yeah.
would usually be a super rare.
Like to take it on the chin.
But I think most people are excited because of the nostalgia. I think like having
yeah.
more rarities is fun, you know? And it's
I love super rares.
Super Slam, bring back super rares. It's fun. They also said with 40 different super rare signature moves to bring into the ring, Super Slam is packed full of exciting and explosive gameplay options for sealed deck and booster draft.
40?
Yes.
Yes.
There's going to be 40 super rare cards. We've seen 4 of them in these charms. And they say 40 different super rare signature moves. With the only ones that we've seen so far, it has literally like the name of the hero spelled out in a stylized font.
These are like their posters or like their little signature cards that you'll see a lot at a lot of these wrestling events.
And I would be really surprised if like all 40 of these looked like posters. But like, I imagine we're going to see like them have some attachment to the heroes with them doing really cool moves or like,
Yeah.
Right now, these charm cards are the only cards that are the talent class combos.
yes.
And so it is quite possibly likely that each hero will get 10 class talent specific combo cards, and they will all be these special rare rarities.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like soft specializations.
I fear that's really cool. Fortunately.
I think the next thing I want to talk about is expansion slots. I'll read directly from the announcement page. The Super Slam expansion slot features a whopping 31 cards for classes and talents outside of those featured in the set.
Jesus.
Oh, wow. I think that's like triple what they normally have.
yeah.
Not only that, they're bringing back some all-time favorites with several key reprints, which means that the Super Slam expansion slot truly has something for everyone.
Just one Findalls, just one CNC, just one Codex. No, baby, we are doing at least more than one.
Also, the expansion slot replaces a basic rarity card in around 1 in 6 boosters.
That means 4 per box?
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm lying.
4 per box.
So let's backtrack a little bit. Not only does this set have 31 expansion slot cards, which is about twice as much as a normal set, like the last few have had around 15, but also they're printing these expansion slot cards, so you're going to find them in booster packs about twice as often as you used to before. Before it was around 1 in 12, 1 in 15, something like that.
So they've doubled both the amount of them and the rate that they're going to be found.
God, that's going to be so good.
I think people are going to have to do a lot of trading to get the ones that they want, and it's going to get harder to get a master set.
Yeah, definitely
But-
harder to get a master set because there's more cards, literally, right?
Yeah.
But I guess like the frequency of any one expansion slot card actually stays about the same. Like the amount of packs you'd have to open to get a playset of a previous expansion slot card is actually about the same as the number of packs you'd have to open to get a new expansion slot card. But you get a bunch of other new expansion slot cards along the way. You'd have a higher stack of other stuff that you get.
Maybe people will finally have to trade in this trading card game.
I trade all the time. What are you talking about? I trade my cards for cash and I trade my cash for cards. But I just think this is exciting because we've kind of liked expansion slots before. I know we've spoken on our podcast about how we're not super happy that it replaces supplemental sets because supplemental sets are really hype. But the fact that we're getting so much more support, expansion slots have already had this weird tension where it's a few solid cards and usually also a few stinkers that people don't actually care about. And a lot of people going, man, I really wanted a Betsy log, or I really wanted a cool new card to replace this card that was banned recently, you know? And with twice the number of cards being printed, hopefully we'll see a lot more happy campers. Because LSS still has this tension where they can only print like so many heroes and so many classes and talents in a set, and many heroes starve for long periods of time, and maybe like this shift to more expansion slot cards makes it easier for heroes to not starve.
Yeah, I also wonder if they're going to play with the rarities in this, right? If they're doubling the amount of cards in the expansion slot, are they all going to be Majestics with or legendaries? Or like, are they finally going to explore putting some like key rare reprints in there? Or super rares,
Oh yeah,
right? Old super rares.
super rare
reprinting
expansion slot cards, that'd be cool.
And then maybe those show up at a slightly higher rate than the Majestic ones. I don't know. There's a lot of options there. The several key reprints thing is the real big sticking point for me. Because I think people expect it to be like, wow, we're getting E-Strike and Warmonger's Diplomacy. And it's like, well, maybe not necessarily.
Yeah, let's see which ones we're getting first before we celebrate it. While I do like this change, I am curious if there's a relationship between this expanded expansion slot and the way that LSS returns to classes and talents. We've been to heavy hitters recently. I was really surprised when they announced that we're going back to the Deathmatch Arena because it feels like only a few sets ago we were at heavy hitters 1.
Yeah. The Deathmatch Arena is also pretty small on the map. It doesn't have a very large seemingly impact, and yet we are getting 2 talents from it. Meaning that like this is a core like source of magic in the world, at least lore wise. James White has said that each talent is a way that the magic of the world expresses itself, and it's tied to locations. So this Deathmatch Arena is apparently important enough to be a source of magic in the world of Wraith.
I mean, you think of like comparing it to like the Colosseum and how, you know, it's like a source of entertainment, but it's also a source of great political power too.
Yeah, it's a huge cultural hub. So I guess they just haven't sold me on that yet.
Yeah, and hey, maybe they put on their big boy pants, write some lore.
Savage Lands?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we all recognize that we wanted to return to Brute. And I think part of that is because the last time we went to Brute, we were a little bit dissatisfied with what they added to the game.
Yeah.
I think like every time they visit a class and talent, there's that thing that LSS does where this new thing is completely new. Old heroes don't get a piece of it because they want to do their old hero thing, you know? We'll see if that happens again.
Yeah.
But I do think it was time for us to return to Brute. Guardian seems a little bit weird because Mastery Pack Guardian, you know, the big like Guardian gets its own like
That's coming out like a couple of weeks before, I think.
So we're gonna have like a Guardian set, which isn't an entire set on its own, but then we also get to go right into
We're also getting Smash Palace.
That's
Thank you,
what
Fuzzy.
it is, yeah. And that's all Guardians too.
That's all Guardians too. But
well, because it
only-
uses Mastery Pack Guardian.
Yes, but it's also supposed to be like a casual entry point for a lot of players. Plus, the Pleiades is the chosen armory deck. Again, one of the big Guardians. And Mastery Pack is like, again, crack shuffle play, meant to be easy for intro. Like, I think very clearly they are saying, Guardian, start with Guardian. Here is the Guardian into the year. And all of these products are coming out right before the holiday season. They're going to be the freshest thing on the market for the holiday season for the set. So, like, they're pushing Guardian. I guess the question is, are they going to push it like they pushed Aurora?
Yeah. I mean, fantastic shout. That's something to look forward to.
I also think it's funny that like Smash Palace takes place at the Deathmatch Arena and we're returning there again. I don't
And they
know.
have 2 different aesthetics.
Yeah. There's like this like weird neon yellow and purple thing going on with the Reviled and Revered. Maybe that's going to make it feel like different enough. I've heard some people be a little bit skeptical about that aesthetic too. Like, do we want to have all this like
bright colors.
Yeah, bright colors in what's normally kind of like
No, I fucking
sandy
love-
desert. Like,
I love the dark azure blue of the sky marked with the blood red of the Reviled. Like, they're really, really bold colors when you put them next to each other, but it's a color combo I'm absolutely in love with.
I think it's going to end up being okay because the class cards, I think, are going to be more true to that class's style. And it's going to be these like talented cards that have the neon and the flashy colors. I think it'll feel okay in the long run. As you're like drafting the set, you'll be like, this feels like Flesh and Blood.
Yeah. I mean, it still feels like Flesh and Blood to me.
So while we're talking about the expansion slot, normally you open your booster pack. It's got 16 pieces of cardboard, right?
So tasty.
The back 2 of them are token/expansion slot cards that you don't play in draft. You got to take those out. You just get to keep those.
Oh.
Right? You get to keep those tokens. While your neighbor gets to keep a token and a legendary cold foil piece of equipment, right?
I don't like that.
Well,
Lucky fuck.
in Super Slam, they're changing up the formula. Instead of the back 2, you only take out the front 1.
Oh.
Now, part of the reason they can get away with only having one token/expansion slot, and remember, expansion slots are happening more often. So, like, you're not getting nearly as many tokens out of this set as a normal set.
Oh my God.
Part of it's because there's no weapons. I'm going to talk about that in a second.
Oh.
But there's only one expansion slot. So I've said for years on this podcast how excited I am to have a set in the future that has one token slot. That way we can have 15 card drafts. You guys remember me saying that, right?
I do, actually.
I fucking love 15 card drafts. When you draft Welcome to Wraith, there's one token and like 15
Fuzzy loves
cards.
having 3 extra cards to draft.
3x, that's such a flexible draft. 3 cards, that's like a much lower chance of having to run a cracked bauble. Nobody likes the cracked bauble. That could be like sideboard slots. You could have like a plan against different heroes. So imagine my disappointment when I looked at the numbers and it's still a 14 card draft.
Yeah, 15 cards in the pack.
Outrage!
Like,
No!
like a high seas pack has 16 pieces of cardboard, 2 of which are token slots. Super Slam has 15 pieces of cardboard, 1 of which is to token slot. So your booster pack literally has less cardboard in it. So the box is going to be like a different shape, right? Like it's going to be like smaller because your stack of like 12 packs side by side is going to have like 12 fewer pieces of cardboard.
This also means each pack has like 1 card less. That's going to help LSS with their profit margins a little bit.
Yeah. I think that's one of the ways that they're trying to like continually push the boundaries on like how do we make the product more affordable and give the players something that they want.
Yeah.
Like,
No Limited
having
could work too.
double-sided mini tokens did a ton for that. I mean, that is like a thing that LSS has done that no other card game I've ever seen do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm a little peeved, LSS. Would it have killed you to have a 15 card draft? Why can't I just draft 1 more card per booster pack, huh? Is that too much to ask?
I mean, Fuzzy, the time it takes to draft and deck build, I just don't think the community can handle it.
The community doesn't know what they're missing, man. Like
So true.
15 card draft, like that's how cubes do it. A lot of the cubes I've seen in Flesh and Blood, you know, the 1 cube. And well, they did it in Welcome to Wrath and Arcane Rising. Okay, I'm going to get off my high horse here. I just want LSS to know how disappointed I am in them. They know what they did. So why does it only have 1 token slot? They can get away with it because there's no weapons in this set. Ugh! Like no weapons.
Oh. So it's odd, right? Because what they say in the announcement is releasing September 26, 2025, Super Slam pits Guardians and Brutes against each other in a sensational smackdown with, all caps, no weapons, just fists and wits. Which is, yeah, it's pretty crazy, but I guess there is no guarantee that there are no weapons. I mean, we have 31 expansion slot cards, just like Hunter's Clave was an expansion slot card. Who's to say that the weapons for our heroes aren't in the expansion slots?
I don't know, Clark. It says no weapons, just fists and wits. I don't know how much more clear they can be on that, you know? Do you guys think draft as a format is going to be super jank with this, like, with these lack of weapons?
Yes!
They still made sure to give like the young KO like only 1 weapon zone, right? Like I technically we haven't seen the young hero card for the new KO, but he can only have 1 weapon zone, which doesn't impact limited if there's no weapons at all. Maybe they'll be like everyone has offhands like shields and shit. Maybe they'll be the wits, you know?
Maybe. Or maybe it's not basic rarity. Maybe you have to draft them.
It makes like fatigue so much more interesting of a dynamic when it comes to limited, because now you can't just swing your weapon and get fatigue value that way. You got to do it like with your CADs. So those are the radical changes that LSS is doing with this set.
Also, 14 Marvels. What do you guys think the Marvels are going to be? Like, sure, there's the hero cards, but like, what else?
What about the other 6 of them? Because there's 4 young and 4 adult heroes that are assuming getting Marvels.
6 Marvels left. I think.
Do you think they're going to be the charms? Marvel charms?
No, they're going to be Taylor Swift cards.
Like all Pleiades.
Yeah.
Oh, like the suspense auras?
Yeah.
Like we'll
probably.
get 6 suspense auras and they get Marvels?
Yeah.
I could see that happening.
Because like if they get the armory deck, they're the chosen one of the set. So I feel like they're going to get special attention,
They get all the
unfortunately.
Marvels,
Yeah.
Do we like that? Do we like certain heroes getting special attention in sets?
No, it's the worst.
release and extra
It's
spice?
destroying the game, unironically.
I kind of agree, I guess. I think that's all about I want to talk about for Blue Pitch. That's everything you need to know about the set, and maybe some things that you didn't need to know, but that's up to you. That's totally subjective. I think everything we said was pretty damn important.
Just about, yeah.
I think it's time for us to move on to our Arsenal Zone.
The Arsenal Zone.
The Arsenal Zone is the part of the podcast where we talk about a card. It could be a card that we like, a card that we hate, a card that we like to hate. Either way, we're going to talk about it now. But first, we're going to talk about a Patreon submission. And the winner of this episode is Dice Roll Noise. BigJ! Woo, 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 woo.
The most wrestling named Patreon subscriber that we have, of course, wins the Super Slam episode.
They shouted out Pummel. And Pummel is just the meat and potatoes of anything that costs.
Pummel, you say?
Yeah, the Pummel salesman. So Pummel is a rainbow common card from Welcome to Wraith. It's a 2-block, 2-cost attack reaction, generic, that says choose one. Target club or hammer weapon attack gains +4. Or target attack action card with cost 2 or greater gains +4. And if this hits a hero, they discard a card. I'm reading it because it's like a formality, but everyone knows what Pummel does. This is like the best card in Flesh and Blood. One of the top 5 if I had to pick some.
Not necessarily strongest, but I think it is pretty fun.
Yeah.
Like I love the design.
Yeah. And they had this to say about Pummel. They said, Pummel, me like Bonk disrupt weak hero. Good and Guardian, Brute, and Vincent, mightiest of rune nerds. Just existence of Pummel make weak quiver. I love the cadence of this submission, by the way.
It's brute coded.
It is very brute coded. And thank you for submitting this card. It's something that comes up a lot in our Discord. Pummel's just goes so well with everything. Goes well with big boats. Goes well with Command and Conquer. Goes well with every Guardian attack ever printed. Just solid attack reaction.
This card enters my mind anytime I find myself building around costs, like cards with cost 2 or greater.
Yeah.
Especially if they're like cost reduced cards.
Yeah, yeah.
Like playing around with Syndra, I'm like, okay, like look at these cool cards that like say 3 on it, but really they cost 0 or 1. Wait, I can still pummel it. Pummel is so much easier to play on things that actually don't cost 2, because then the cost curve kind of works.
I mean, Blood runs deep with Pummel. Wrath of Retribution with Pummel.
Exactly. She has so fucking many.
Yeah.
And then you start looking at the actual 2 costs that almost seem justifiable. Like there's the 1 2 for 5 where if it hits, you get like a free card off the top of your deck with a condition asterisk. It's I think it's Engulfing Flame Wave, something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We love Pummel. And throwing it into decks that do not deserve Pummel.
When you know what they say, when all of your problems are nails, you just need a hammer. And Pummel's the best fucking hammer you could buy.
Honestly, that's such a base description. I love that. So yeah, thank you, Big J, for your submission. And if you didn't hear your card being submitted, don't you worry. We keep a bank of all your submissions, and we'll get to them sooner or later, just like we did with Big J.
Now, Joel.
Yes.
In our Patreon section where people make the suggestions for the cards, I saw one card come up over and over and over again, and I can't believe the dice wouldn't let us pick it. Joel, would you do us the honor of acknowledging the best card to come out of this week?
Hold on. I'm channeling everyone in the Patreon right now, and I'm going to speak for them. And the card that everyone is shouting for, is screaming for, is Rock.
Rock.
rock, 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 rock.
I don't know what that devolved into, but yeah, for today's Patreon, I actually typed rock like very early into the notes, and then everyone just started flooding the comments with rock. And instead of talking about why I love rock, I'm just gonna go over everyone else's submissions of rock. Tim S wrote rock, big stinking rock, must be dumped to play rock. But for real, I want this to be amazing, and maybe we just got the hero to do so. And then All String said rock with a little spinny emoji face. And then Whippy said nasty surprise. I think that for all intents and purposes, this card has a really important spot in the upcoming meta because of the things like Assassin Codex and Anka hurting decks that draw. So I really think, just kidding, it's rock all day,
Rock, baby.
Give me 75 blue block, 35 in a dream. BDIF incoming, baby. Woo! And then, that was pretty much it. Rock has been the source of many memes in our Discord for a long time. It's just such a cool weapon, very unique, and super unplayable, godly unplayable until now. So I think everyone's just really excited that we can break out our marvels and start,
I
bashing
should have
people
bought it when it was cheap.
Yeah, when it was $35 for like 2 years.
Yeah, how
I'm
much?
pretty sure I have my copy, but I'm not 100%.
Marvel?
No, a regular copy, but I'm not 100% sure, and that scares me.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the card I wanted to shout out today. What about you guys? What do you guys got?
Like I mentioned in turn 0, Crucible is our monthly rotating format league, and this is the first week of our Crucible league, so I've been thinking about like what I want to build, and there's a couple different ideas I've been looking at. It's fun to see cards like in their native habitat, and that makes them like maybe a little bit better because they don't have to be like all-stars in CC. They can be just like do their thing with their other cards related to them. There's a card that I've always thought is kind of cool, and I've seen in some competitive lists, and that's Ghostly Visit. Ghostly Visit is a shadow action attack that costs 1, attacks for 4, and blocks for 3. You can play Ghostly Visit from your banished zone at any time that you would normally be able to play attack action cards.
And do.
Oh, yeah.
You can just play it from your banished zone. If you have a way to get this into banish, you can play it like it's a card from your hand. It also has blood debt. So once you get it into banish, if you don't play it, it'll hurt you. Unless your Leviathan can like turn off your hero ability, but notably this card is not going to do that. It only attacks for 4.
Cycle it over and over and over again, dude. Just Dread Screamer into this, Dread Screamer into this, just fucking repeat ad infinitum, dude.
2/10?
There's another card
my
called
God.
Howl from Beyond that is a pump that you can play from banish. So if you have like 1 blue, you can maybe like play your pump from banish and then play Ghostly Visit.
Now that's peak fab.
You are adding 2 misses, so you do got to be a little bit careful about your miss density in graveyard. But
And there's only like 3 shadow heroes, so you're totally justified in bringing up Leviathan. This card can be played in other heroes, though. Just saying.
no,
I don't think so. I think that's a lie.
But I was looking at the card list because I did want to play a Leviathan version of this deck that focused on this. I don't know if it was good. I was just exploring, right? And you guys have Otherworldly Bellow, which doesn't have blood debt, but it does put cards from your graveyard into banish. So you could like play on Otherworldly Bellow to pump your next shadow attack, banish a Ghostly Visit, and then just play the Ghostly Visit, which sounded like a really fun play line. So Ghostly Visit, it's only a 1 for 4, so it can only be like so above rate, you know? But it's a card that I've been thinking about lately, and I brought a copy here for each of you that I will sign and
Let's
give to
fucking
you.
go.
Here you go.
thank you, Fuzzy.
Clark, what about you?
Yeah, I guess I'm last to go. Card that I'm going to talk about is a card that I have been thinking about as the foundation for Brute. And it's funny that I say that because it actually took a while for Brute to get it. And that is Wild Ride. Wild Ride is a Brute attack action card that costs 2 and attacks for 6. When you attack with Wild Ride, you draw a card and then discard a card. If that card has 6 or more power, this gains go again. It also cannot block. So Wild Ride was both a very important card in the heavy hitters draft that I played at my most recent armory, And it's also a card I've been thinking a lot about when I'm looking at these new Brute heroes. When it comes to both Tough Nut and RKO, I don't see either of them using Wild Ride to really, really great effect.
I actually was really thinking it might be nice for Tough Nut, because if you have a yellow-based pitch system, you could pitch a blue to Wild Ride, hope you get a hit because you have a lot of yellow 6s in your deck. Then you use a hero ability to swing Rock. So that could be a 2-card 13.
Yeah, but then you're hoping for a blue to be under the... Like, it's so many random cards off the top. And in a 3-card hand, the whole point of Wild Ride is that by keeping a big hand full of 6s, you can help guarantee the go again as much as conceivably possible.
Or play a leaner hand and just hope. And if you miss, then it's a 2 for 6, right? Like, it can go out of the way. Like, I really like the design of this card. Yeah. I'm not disagreeing. It's a lot. It, like, wants to be played
It
with a
sounds
bigger
like
hand.
you're disagreeing. Like, I guess what I'm saying is, like, the non-block is a really, really big drawback. That's the point I'm trying to make here. But also, this is the thing that actually allowed Brutes to push damage, something that they have desperately needed as they have modernized.
Mm-hmm.
And with RKO being completely impossible to really utilize this to mass effect, because he's just not going to be able to run as many 6s, he's really... that they need to provide something else. Something else has to go into the place of Wild Ride and Pulping. Something needs to replace this card neutral, because the whole point is that you draw a discard and it has go again. What is that going to be for Brute? Because if they're not able to replace that, then RKO has no future in the meta. So, like, whatever they print in this set needs to be better than Wild Ride, or at least provide what Wild Ride does in other decks for these decks.
Well, sweet. I think that about wraps up our pod.
Yeah, this is a really, really sick set. I think a lot of people are disappointed by the aesthetic because they're not wrestling fans, I guess. And they aren't excited about returning to the deathmatch arena, I think because they already felt like they were going to get it in other products. So not a ton of excitement surrounding Super Slam, but honestly, I think design-wise, this might be the most interesting set they've put out in a very long time.
Yeah, it certainly blows high seas out of the waters, in my opinion.
In terms of, like, revolutionizing their design, 100%.
Yeah.
Is it? I don't know. I'm really excited
fucking
for
with
it.
Intellect is crazy.
Oh, yeah, that's very true. Yeah.
Like, screwing with Intellect, screwing with the base powers as much as they are.
Yeah.
Like, I guess you're right. Whatever's going on with Suspense is, like, maybe that could be pretty blasé, pretty standard fair LSS.
I mean, we know
stuff.
blues are good. You know what I mean? We didn't need
Yeah.
another set to show blues are good. But, like, messing with base powers, base defenses, intellects, and stuff like that, and messing with permanents in classes that don't really mess with them like that, that's all really interesting.
Even the fact that, like, Lyeth, his armor itself is getting halved, right? Because those are cards that he controls. Like, that's kind of crazy, too. Like,
Yeah,
really
don't
out there
block with your
designs.
2-block Tempers.
yeah.
Alrighty. Well, until next one, guys, be sure to join the Discord because we're the only place where you can get spoilers. Don't want to miss those.
Yeah.
And
If you're excited about participating in our Crucible League, you can go ahead and join our Patreon.
And even if you just want to play some games of our home turf constructed format, you can come on our Discord and talk with other people who might be interested in the same thing. You don't have to necessarily join our Patreon to play some games,
Yeah.
but you should.
yeah. Well, until next time, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye. Pitch It To Me podcast is hosted by Fuzzy Delp, Clark Moore, and Joel Recinos. Our executive producer is Talon Stradley. Logistics coordinator, John Farkas. Music by Dillon Hulse. Logo by Han V. And sound mixing by Christopher Moore. Last but not least, we'd like to thank you, the listener. Thank you for tuning in. Please give us a follow on your favorite social media platform at Pitch It To Me Podcast.
You know how to do, they were doing this on a podcast I was listening to this week. Do you know how to do fake sincerity wedding voice?
Okay, let's see if I can.
Fake sincerity.
Jeremy, I have always loved you.
Welcome to Pitch It To Me podcast.
That's great, yeah.
A show about the subjective past, present, and potential future of fashion design. Today's episode will be a look and discussion of on the design of the upcoming Super Sam set. You can find us across all socials, such as Bluesky and Instagram at Pitch It To Me podcast.
That's pretty good.
Jotaro.
So I'm a little peeved, LSS. Would it really have been?
No?
I just don't get why Jotaro? I didn't see it. I didn't get the JoJo's reference.
Oh, I just say it randomly. There's no context. He has to go Jotaro, and I go Dio,
Solo Dioda.
because I know it's an anime reference, but I don't understand it. Or you just have those drafts for like, where are all the blue block threes? It's like pick 7, and you look at oh god, when did Fuzzy get in my pod?
The majestic red comes around, and you're like, huh? How did this get all the way? Oh, there's no blues in this pack.